My TikTok feed has been nothing but positive feedback for this movie.
It has like a fun rom-com feel. Like they
Yeah.
don't make too many fun movies nowadays unless they're like superhero movies. I felt so much anxiety and anticipation. I'm like, take the bag off his head. You're gonna kill a cop. This is not gonna end well for you.
I feel like you could see the switch flip, and I really like that.
The first time he did it, the confidence was so unruly. The confidence
Yeah.
was off the charts. So I have a surprise for you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and I didn't even tell you I had a surprise for you.
Wow.
It's been so hard for me to keep my lips sealed.
Wow. Welcome to Backseat Directing,
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
we're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're doing a movie review of Hitman.
3, 2, 1.
Action.
Bum, 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 bum.
No, what would have been funny is if after that intro we appeared and we were wearing completely different. We looked
Disguises?
completely different. You know, with each take. You know, that would have been too much work though.
So I have a surprise for you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and I didn't even tell you I had a surprise for you.
Wow.
It's been so hard for me to keep my lips sealed.
Wow, that's honestly possibly a bigger surprise than whatever this surprise is going to be. Is that you kept it a surprise?
I know. I wanted to. I've been trying to talk to you less because can't keep my mouth shut.
You have been kind of distant this past week.
I got a tattoo on Monday.
No way.
Yeah.
Of me?
Has been wanting to send you a picture, but I was going to unveil it on the podcast. You ready?
Oh boy, what is it?
No, I'm just kidding. It's on my arm.
Hey, look at that! That's so cool.
You see it on the camera?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Got the old shovel.
Super secret inside jokes.
Hey, that's what's up. That's cool.
I have a tattoo for each of our short films now.
That's really cool.
I was super pumped. I was hard not to send a
Dude,
picture.
how did you keep that a secret?
Hard not to send a picture.
Man, and we're on the same arm as Batman?
Absolutely.
Dude,
Batman over here.
look at that. And then you got the coffee mug.
For hit. Yeah.
Boom. Dude, and that's our next short film that we just finished filming last week. So that'll be out eventually.
So now that has to come out.
That'd be funny if like, I'm not even going to say it. Never mind.
No, but I was so pumped. I was like, man, this is
Dude,
I gotta show him on the podcast.
That's what's up. Dude, the shovel's so cool.
Isn't it?
That's what's up.
Yeah, it's still wrapped up in the like Sanoderm stuff, so it's still covered. So
Yeah, so the shovels for our first film that we did called The Body. Normally we have the poster right behind me here, but it's actually in another room right now. And the poster is a shovel, and it's obviously a big part of the movie. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
and you'll see the reference for the coffee mug when you eventually get to see Hit for Hit.
After this, I want to talk to you about like what other ideas you had for Hit, because there's a few things that you could have
I had a
gotten
couple
for.
options, but this is
Yeah.
Sierra's vote was for this.
Okay. All right. What'd you think of Hitman?
I thought it was good. Broad strokes, I liked Hitman. I was expecting to like it. I thought it had one of the stronger trailers so far this year. And Glen Powell is just a star right now. I think he's in Hollywood's like top 10 most wanted men by studios. They want him to lead more stuff. He's already this summer's like juggernaut. He's got Hitman and the what is it, Twister, and he just had
Twisters.
Yep, the sequel.
There's two twins.
Twins. We got twins.
Twin
That's it. But he was in the he was just in Anyone But You, which was a smash as well. So I was excited to see him put on the charisma for this, and I thought he absolutely crushed it. I had a fun time watching it, and it was fun to just kick back and watch a movie. I usually like the theater experience, but I had to catch this one on Netflix. It wasn't showing in theaters near me, so I enjoyed watching it at home though. It was a good time of a movie. We'll get more into it with our ratings, but what'd you think?
Overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think it had this like nostalgia feeling to it, where if it would have come out in like 2003, you know, like it would have been the biggest movie. It would have been so talked about and stuff. Not that it isn't now. I think a lot of people are enjoying this movie a lot. My TikTok feed has been nothing but positive feedback for this movie.
It has like a fun rom-com feel. Like they don't make too many fun movies nowadays unless they're like superhero movies.
Yeah, it's funny. It's clever. It's sexy. It's charming, and it's got a decent story too. And it's cool to see an actor like play different characters.
Always
or
fun.
Yeah,
Always
that's
fun.
so cool.
And it's I thought the story
That's what being an actor is all about.
Yeah.
You know, is like
it's the name of the game.
yeah, blending in and becoming these different personalities. And it's cool when you get to do that multiple times in one film.
And then on the flip side of the coin too, Glen Powell has said in an interview that his co-lead, Adria Arjona, he said they had to find the right person for her part too, because he said if she wasn't somebody that you could buy into and fall in love with as an audience, if people weren't going to believe that you would throw your whole life away for this beautiful woman, then the movie just wouldn't work because it would seem like a joke.
Right.
So
And
she had to have a
he's
lot of
totally
charisma,
right.
too. Yeah.
And she did a great job.
Yeah. She did a great job.
Yeah.
She draws the eye of the audience for sure, and she's got a lot of charisma. But yeah, I thought the movie was, like you said, just a lot of fun. And let's save talking about it some more for our ratings. Let's go into what's first, Aaron.
Okay, so this movie came out 2023. Wait, 2024. That's weird. It says 2023 on IMDb because I just copied it over from there.
Sometimes it gets confused, like if
Yeah.
it has like a festival viewing, which I think like it was played at like Sundance or something in late 2023, and that's
Yeah.
where Netflix purchased the rights to
That's
it.
probably like, yeah, it's the first viewing, maybe. Public
first
viewing
public
is that
viewing.
day. Anyways, it came out this year on Netflix. It's rated R. It's an hour and 55 minutes long. Isn't it interesting that it's rated R? I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of like movies in this genre, you know, are 13.
Well, it didn't feel like a hard R either. It feels
didn't.
like a soft R.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit of quasi nudity, like not full
Barely.
nudity.
Yeah. I feel like they could have easily have just, like covered up just a little bit and then boom.
PG-13.
Maybe there was more than one F word. I'm not sure. Anyways, IMDb has it at a 7 out of 10. Pulling up Rotten Tomatoes right now. Let's see what Rotten Tomatoes has The Hitman at.
What's cool about this movie too is that being loosely based on a true story.
crap. We have a 97% critic score and a 93% audience score. That's really high.
I wouldn't have guessed it, but that's very impressive.
The 7 out of 10 I feel like is right where it should be.
Those are like Spider-Verse Dune Part 2 scores.
Yeah, those are dude, those are so high. I wonder what Dune is real quick for Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, the longer it's out, the more that's affected. So
Absolutely.
Dune's probably lower, I would think.
It's still crazy, right?
Either way.
That surprised me. 92 and 95.
Also, the audience
So
score is
they're-
actually higher.
Yeah, they're about the same but flopped.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Budget for this one is not listed on IMDb, and probably because it's a streaming movie. I wonder how they like determine all of that, right? Because I'm sure they made the movie, or like is it a Netflix original?
I don't know how they term it.
Yeah.
It's Netflix owns it, but it wasn't created originally for Netflix. It was purchased by Netflix.
Right, they probably bought it. But it's interesting that we don't get that information because it didn't go to theaters. Like,
It went to limited theaters for like a week.
it made 1.3 million.
Yeah.
So it probably would have done pretty decent in the theater.
Yeah. The thing is, 1.3 million is better than nothing. But even if you just gave it like a month in theaters, it could have maybe made like at least 5 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then the thing is, when it has a week, it's not the same as like the first week of like a big release.
Because I'm like, oh well, I'm just gonna watch it at home for free.
It's also limited. Like maybe it showed in like a couple hundred theaters around the country. You know what I mean? I don't know how many theaters it showed in exactly.
All right. Our next part for our movie review is where we talk about the creators both in front of and behind the camera. Andrew?
So the biggest first person we always talk about when it comes to this person behind the camera, the creator of the film, is the director. In this case, it's Richard Linklater. He's a very famous director. If you haven't heard of him, he's known for doing big movies like Boyhood, Before Sunrise. One of my and my personal favorite of his, School of Rock. It's a pretty eclectic filmography, going from like Boyhood, Oscar-nominated movie, to School of Rock, an iconic comedy starring Jack Black. But he's also a writer on this film, along with Glen Powell and Skip Hollandsworth being credited as writers as well. Our Cinematographer for this movie is, I'm like queuing up a drum roll because I'm waiting for it. Shane F. Kelly. The editor for this movie is Sandra Adair. Music was done by Graham Reynolds. And our cast in front of the camera for Hitman includes the incomparable Glen Powell, who we mentioned earlier, the amazing Adria Arjona. So Glen Powell plays Gary Johnson, who is based on a real character. You'll see a message at the end of the film talking about Gary Johnson as being generally kind of a kick-ass dude. They said he was super chill and never killed anybody. But it's
that was funny at the end in the credits. They're like, we made that part.
Very loosely based on this man's life, but he must have been an interesting guy. Adria Arjona plays Madison Figueroa. Austin Emilio is kind of the villain of this movie as Jasper, the police officer. Retta is Claudette. Retta, you guys might recognize from Parks and Rec if you're a Donna fan like me. Sanjay Rao plays Phil. And there's a few other cast members, but I won't get too deep into it because really the main stars of this movie are Glen Powell and Adria Arjona and carrying the movie on their back.
Absolutely. So now that we've gone through all of the ratings and the box office, even though there wasn't really any information there, and the cast, now we can go into where we rate the film, and we do so through 6 different categories, and this helps us kind of give a objective score as much as possible to a movie based on everything that goes into making a movie. And the first category that we rate films by is the story. And this is the most important part of a movie. If you don't have a good story, you don't have a good movie. You just have pictures. So Andrew, what did you give the story of this rom-com Hitman?
This is one of the scores that I feel better about. I feel more solid. Some of my scores in here I'll feel a little shakier on, but the story I give an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I feel like you're going to come in a little bit lower based on the vibes I'm getting off of you.
Yeah, I have mine lower. I feel like I should bump mine up just a smidge.
Are you at like a 6?
No.
What are you at?
It's written down right now as a 6.5.
No, that's a little bit better than a 6, but damn.
Yeah, that's probably too low. I could probably see a 7.
Well, like, give your explanation. How do you feel about the story?
I liked it. I did. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'll give it a 7. I'm gonna go up to a 7.
I like it's kind of a whimsical approach to a loosely based on a true life story. You got this Gary Johnson guy who he's in real life he's ex-military. That's not really mentioned in the movie itself, but in the movie he is a philosophy teacher, ethics teacher of some kind at a college, and in his part-time he does tech support for the Louisiana Police Department or New Orleans Police Department, and he takes over this role after one of the actual police officers get into hot water. He takes over the role of going undercover and talking to people who are attempting to hire a hitman. And he builds a case against them by getting them to incriminate themselves while being recorded. And then the cops come and arrest these people. And then he shows up at the trial to affirm the details. And these people are stopped from ever actually trying to kill someone. So I really like the story overall. Overall, I probably would have given it a 7, but then I thought that they ended really strong and really unexpected. Like the ending I did not see coming, and I feel like was something that was hard to pull off. Spoiler alert for Hitman. I'm going to spoil the ending. So the end of this movie, Madison Figueroa kills her abusive ex-boyfriend, and in order to cover for her and defend for her, Gary ends up killing Jasper, who was not only is he committing murder, but is a police officer. No matter how poorly his colleagues look at him, he's a police officer. So
see, I was surprised about that part.
That was a shock
About him going through and killing.
See that? Yeah,
cover it up for her.
That took me by surprise.
Yeah,
and I feel like they built him up as a villain enough that you can get behind it. And then they really sold me on this relationship. Like I thought that they were gonna have to find some other way out of this, and they end up getting away with murder, starting a family together, and then cut to whatever 5-6 years down the line, they're like happily married still, based off this foundation of mutual trust. Like their relationship started with both of them committing murder, and now they have this happy life and a child together, maybe 2 children. I'm not sure if I remember if there's a boy. There's definitely a daughter, an older daughter, and I don't know. I felt like it was like a heartwarming ending. I felt like I was glad they ended up together. It's ironically dark and twisted. It makes for a good dark comedy, and like. it wasn't super dark throughout. It was just kind of silly and fun with all the costumes and different personas. And Gary was this interesting character. But then they kind of make you fall in love with Madison. So I debated about giving it a 7, but I feel like for me it's an 8 because I feel like it's just such a unique story. Like I feel like any other movie, they wouldn't have ended it that way. They ended with like murdering a cop and then being happily in love together. I feel like 9.9 times out of 10, a movie is not going to take that route at the ending. And I applaud their approach because I feel like they capitalized on it. I feel like it felt like a really good climax.
Yeah.
Like just the way that Jasper's head gets bagged and then it's slowly like breathing, and like I felt so much anxiety and anticipation. I'm like, take the bag off his head. You're gonna kill a cop. This is not gonna end well for you. And then they end up getting away with
And then
it.
you're like, oh, that's the point. They're killing the cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation when Glen Powell comes into the house and he like holding the phone of telling her what to say.
That was
and
really
stuff.
super smooth.
It was just like, it was really cool.
Yeah. When I saw him on the phone, I was like, he's gonna text her, and I was like, oh, that won't work because there'll be evidence.
It was really slick, and I like too how they were like just kind of continuing their flirting from earlier.
Well, they're
like
making,
at this.
Yeah.
It's this really serious, intense moment, and they're just like having fun.
The sexual chemistry is off the charts.
Yeah,
it's off.
it was so good.
It's Challengers came out, and then this came out, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like the movies haven't done this in many moons.
Yeah.
But
it was so good.
They're and also just the layers of their performance there. Like they're having to act like surprised and stunned, and they're off the cuff and they're riffing, improving. So like having to like wear a face of like laughing at each other, but project a voice of like, screw you for accusing me. Like it was a mix. And then I really like the meta approach throughout the whole movie of like, it's a movie about people acting and conning and performing. And so like they're actors playing a regular person who's acting. And meta movies are super in right now. It's Barbie and Fall Guy. And I feel like this approach was kind of a little less tongue in cheek, a little bit more story.
Yeah, subtle.
But still, more
it's
subtle,
cool,
but still
though.
meta. And I really liked seeing the characters perform as people performing. I thought that scene is like probably the best scene of the movie, the one that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, there's so much tension, both from like, oh no, like she's gonna go to jail and he's gonna get in trouble, but then like you said, the sexual tension, and then the tension of the cops on the other line, really trying to listen in and nail her. Like if they said one wrong thing, it's all over. And they're both in trouble.
Yeah, and I was thinking,
he's like hammering her too.
Yeah.
He had some tough questions, and as soon as you thought they were done talking, he had another question. And I was like, "Oh man, this is still going on."
It's crazy because he's putting up so much stuff on the phone that's like on the fly. It's like they know about this, don't put it on me. And it's like she was riffing so fast. Like it makes you buy into the characters both as really smart, but also really connected because they can play off each other so well. It makes you think that they're such a great team. So even in a scene like that has all these other layers, it's still based on their relationship too. And to me, it almost feels reminiscent of like sexy Breaking Bad. It's like he's always like a step away from the cops, but playing it cool. Like he's standing in the DEA building, like picking Hank up for lunch or having a meeting with Hank, like sneaking into his computer. Like it feels like the law's right a breath away from him. And it's the same way in that scene, which I thought was phenomenally performed, phenomenally written. So the movie built to that so well. They just did such a good job where I was like, man, if he pushes her too hard and she says just the wrong thing, Jasper's going to pick up on it, or one of these other two characters, Retta's going to pick up on it. And I was like, then when he sits back down in the car, all relieved, thinking he played them, they're going to be like, well, how come you mentioned like the body? Like she didn't know, like something like that. And I was like, oh, they slip up just slightly. I was waiting for that moment. That's another part where the movie kind of surprised me again because I thought there was going to be something like that. I thought that was where he was going to get caught, but they got away with it there. And then Jasper's there when he shows up back to see her later that afternoon.
Man,
good twists and turns.
We're overwhelming our audience right now with positivity.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Well, you gave it a 7. So that's a mild manner.
That's it's like you did a good job. Like that's an average.
I thought it was above average. I was like, I didn't think to give it like a 9, but I think an 8 was fair.
Is there anything that you didn't like as much, or any critiques or anything like that?
One thing that's a disappointment to me a little bit is more conceptual. Is like I thought it would have been cool for there to be some action, but it's not really like an action story.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, action doesn't always have to be a fight. Like, you don't have to make Gary a badass. Like, action can be a chase. You know, action can be a really sloppy fight where he barely comes out alive. I just wanted there to be like, there was intensity, but the intensity was more relationship, deceit, conning. I maybe wanted some intensity like car chase or like a foot chase, like
kind of like The Killers or something like that.
Yeah, like I wanted maybe a little bit more intensity in that realm, but it's the kind of movie it is. They wrote within the scope of like the rom-com, like it's like a thriller rom-com dark comedy.
I'm sure that increases the budget too.
Yeah.
When you add in, you know, different stunts and
I just
all
like
that stuff.
I'm looking at it, and when they had Glen Powell take his shirt off, I was like, now they're going to unveil that this college philosophy professor is jacked beyond belief for no reason. I was like, how is there not going to, like, he's perfect for an action role.
That kind of brings me into probably my main critique is that I never really bought him as his actual like personality.
Well, it's hard
of
because
the nerd.
It's hard because you know who Glen Powell is in real life.
Yeah,
and he's
but-
like this charismatic guy. I bought into it because of the haircut and the jorts.
I mean-
the haircut and the jorts were enough for me.
No, like that's just. It seemed like they're just slapping that on
That
this
hair-
really good-looking guy.
That
Like,
hair, yeah, well, that haircut almost made him ugly. It was a terrible haircut.
I mean, it was terrible even when he was like the slick guy.
It got better. It got
a little
got-
bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt like it was just they were trying too hard to make him look like a nerd, you know. And I don't know.
Glasses, jorts, with like a tucked-in polo T-shirt, and
Yeah, like-
a haircut like this.
Yeah, like come on now. It was too obvious. Like you're telling me this guy is dressing and acting like this.
yeah.
Like he clearly works out every day.
Yeah,
this guy is a stud.
The unbelievable side was like he's wearing like a 2XL to hide his biceps. It's like putting Arnold in like glasses. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like it's a little bit less believable in that sense. But I could like it was enough that I could find myself suspending disbelief for it. I kind of wanted like a workout scene for him just to be like, you know, some people who are like nerdier or like intellectual, like they still like to work out. Movies are just very like black and white in that sense. Like he has to be a nerd. He has to be a nerd. But like people, like he still could be like, oh, like I'm kind of lonely. It's just me and my cats. I like to work out in my free time.
Screw you, man.
Fuck. Oh, excuse me. Oh god, that hurt a little bit. But the point is, it could have been just a push-up scene or something. Is all I'm saying. But you were saying you said something.
What do you think of the acting in this movie?
Don't look at me.
Where do you want me to look?
There's so many forehead veins while you're laughing. Oh
Right back at you.
Yeah, stop crying. So, on to the acting. My acting,
Out of 10 points.
which this one is one I debate about a lot, and I might have given it too high of a score, but I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 too.
Okay.
Pretty much for the two leads. I thought everyone else was okay. What are you laughing
I
at?
was thinking about not laughing. Okay. Yeah.
Get it together,
No,
man.
I was gonna say absolutely the same thing though. It is the two leads. I mean, I wanted to knock it back to like a 7.5 maybe because like of how much it is only the two leads. But like I feel like their chemistry is on par, similar to Challengers. And I looked at Challengers. I gave Challengers a 9. For great acting and great chemistry. This movie just doesn't have as much like dramatic stuff. It's like a little bit more silly, but I love the chemistry between Adria Arjona and Glen Powell. It is incredible chemistry. Like when they first meet and she's like ordering a hit, I'm like, this feels like, I was like kind of like smiling. I was like, this feels like the awkward energy of a first date. And
Yeah.
and that's absolutely what they were going for. It has to be. But like their hit meeting felt like a first date, like them sparring,
Absolutely.
jabbing with each other, riffing off each other. I can't stop saying the word riffing over and over again. It's the third time in like 15 minutes. But honestly, that chemistry was so strong. And then on top of that, Glen Powell getting to just play as an actor, that's got to be the most fun. They look like they had so much fun in this movie. Different costumes, you know, facial prosthetics, the teeth, the like a scar, hair, different outfits. Like I feel like they had so much fun, and that performance was really cool. Like the difference between these different personas, like his like more redneck persona, like with the guy skeet shooting, or like the one he said was his favorite was the really creepy like trench coat one with like the red haired one. Red hair. We get a bad look, guys. We're always a bully.
I don't know.
Or a
Seems
creep,
fit into me.
We're even. We're even. But he said that was his favorite one, and that one looked like a lot of fun. Like that. Stop. We were so strong. Which persona was your favorite of his? The redneck one was a lot of fun, but my favorite was probably his favorite too. That he said was the redheaded one.
I mean, I really like the one that fell in love.
He was cool.
I mean, yeah, he's
what
just
did he
so
call him?
slick.
They were like, Gary, I wouldn't touch with the 10-foot pole, but
Is it Ron?
Ron. It was Ron. He's like,
yeah.
But Ron, I
like
Ron.
I like the concept of pretending to be someone else, and that someone else is kind of like who you've always wanted to be. You just didn't know how to like get it out.
Yeah.
And since he's like in this cover, and he's kind of like protected by the law. He's got backup right outside kind of thing, like it gives him this confidence. And I feel like you could see the switch flip. Yeah. And I really like that.
The first time he did it, the confidence was so unruly. The confidence was off the charts. It was like, this is not Gary.
Right.
Like, he's coming into the diner. He's like, who? Like, it's like us when we're trying to get into character for like one of our roles. We're like, all right.
Or like when he sat down behind the ex-husband and they're like talking, and then at the very end he like turns towards him and like says, I'll do the boyfriend for free or something. And then he gets up and follows him.
Dude, the intensity, that was not Gary at all.
Oh shoot.
I love it. So, and a great story beat there too that I was thinking about is initially I was like, well, that was kind of stupid of him because he could have just agreed to take the hit, let that guy get arrested, and then he's like, that guy's out of the picture. But the thing I thought about after the fact is he has to show up at the trials, because if he doesn't, it's like when a cop gives you a parking ticket, they have to show up if you go to court. He has to be at the trials because otherwise they can't like.
He's their main witness.
Yeah, he's like the person who was there explaining. He has to defend to the jury. When he gets there, the guy's gonna be like, I know that guy. He stuck a gun in my face. So he had to cut it loose. So it was actually
a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Originally it bothered me, and then I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense. Like he had to have it. He had to end that.
Yeah.
But he did it.
That's a really good point. I thought the two people that were in the van, they were over the top annoying.
I didn't think they were that funny, but I like Donna in Parks and Rec so much. I'm just happy to see her get work and see her in anything. I think she's a very funny actress. Mm-hmm. So her, I was like, I'll excuse anything, just because I like her as a person. But they weren't very funny.
No,
even like their funniest part when they were like, Ron, man, I would love me some Ron. Like that was the funniest part for them. But it wasn't.
Or like Jasper's like going through like his plan, to set him up, and they're like, yeah. Like, okay, chill out.
Yeah, they're comedic actors. They're not as dramatic actors, I guess.
Yeah, they felt over the top, which I guess kind of matched Gary, but it didn't match the rest of the film.
Jasper, I thought actually did a pretty good job.
I like Jasper. Yeah.
I mean, I think he could have been a more menacing villain, but I don't think they wanted too menacing. They wanted him to kind of be a joke.
Right.
So
that's just our preference sneaking through.
Yeah.
We're projecting onto them. All right. Our next category is cinematography. This includes a lot. We got the camera angles, the camera movement, the composition, the lighting, the editing, the color grade. So there's so much. Also, any VFX and special effects that we see in the film is in this category. Andrew, what did you give it out of 10?
I gave it a 7.5. Which again, I was fluttering with like an 8, which I do feel like is kind of high. I just really liked some of the framing. I don't think there was any mind-blowing camera movement in this movie, but I thought some of the framing was really nice. Or like that iconic to me, the trucking shot as he leaves her house with like the yellow backdrop and he's Ron and he's all confident. It trucks to the right with him as he like walks down the stairs. I just think something about
simple.
Yeah, it's simple and it's very visually pleasing.
Yeah.
It's very smooth and it feels like you're on this like bright summer day, the bright yellow backdrop, and it feels like you're kind of riding that high with him a little bit because it's the camera's moving, and I think that the intimacy of the framing with him and Madison is very close when they're in bed together. I mean, not just for intimacy, but also to hide some of the visuals, to not be NC-17. But I found the camera work really enjoyable. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't Inception. It wasn't crazy, but like even the lighting as something as simple as the first meeting with Madison in that little bar felt a little hazy. It felt like it felt warm. Like they set the scene with the lighting, with the camera work, shooting like over the shoulder at that little bar scene. It felt like they were shooting a date, and I liked it. A 7.5 I think is landing fair.
I gave it a 7.
Yeah,
So not too far off from you.
I won't debate.
I thought they did a really good job, but it was nothing like super stylized, nothing, too complex, which fits the story,
Yeah.
Like Roger Deakins says all the time, like he wants to use cinematography style that best fits the story. And I think they did that here, but like there was nothing like mind blowing, like you said, to bring it up to a 10, But yeah, I liked everything that you said as well.
I think they had nice framing. That'd be my big takeaway from it.
Yeah, the colors look nice too.
Yeah.
The scenes looked well organized, and
That'll lead us into one of our next categories.
Yeah,
if we skip sound design.
yeah. Before we get there, we have sound design. This is also out of 10 points. This is everything that we hear. So we got the sound effects, the Foley work. We got the score and the soundtrack. Andrew, what did you give the
Sound design.
Sound design.
Again, I gave it a 7.5, which that score is higher to me largely because of the soundtrack. I like some of the songs they chose, but namely the song from the trailer that they use in the movie, the Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. I think it just has a very relaxed feel that's super fitting for the movie. It feels like relaxed, like a rom-com. And then it fits in with the pie theme because there's like 3 or 4 pie lines throughout the movie. So I like that. The sound wasn't anything that particularly shocked me or bothered me throughout otherwise. Because I mean, there's not anything too crazy sound design wise in this movie. I think there's like a few gunshots.
Yeah, when I was looking there's definitely a lot more sound design that goes into it than the gunshots.
Yeah, but I'm talking about striking sound design. I mean, I'm not looking for like jingling keys or like feet on stairs,
I mean, just the
As impressive
ambiance of like a restaurant and all that stuff. Like all that's sound design technically.
Yeah, but like I'm looking for sound design that makes me like feel something. Like that sound design that just makes the scene
That makes you feel something.
It makes you not feel distracted.
Yeah, but it still makes you feel something. It just
does
doesn't stand out. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Makes me feel
Like if
something
there's
strong.
no crowd sound when they're in the bar, like it would be awkward.
That's what I'm talking about. Makes you not feel awkward.
Yeah.
It's more of a baseline.
Yeah.
Even though it's very, very important to the film, and the people who do that, I can never do what they do.
It is very tedious, for sure, but it definitely elevates what you're watching. Sound design, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I feel like nothing really stuck out to me when I was writing the score here today. I couldn't really remember the music per se, which I'm not super musical.
What about that song? Do you remember the Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie?
I mean, kind of. I can't picture like where in the film it came on at.
I've been singing it since the trailer, so it's stuck in my head either way.
Yeah. But I'd say you're like very musical, like songs get stuck in your head a lot.
I'm still probably less musical than the average person. Like I watch,
And I'm like, way
aware.
down here.
Like I really only listen to music to work out,
Yeah.
which you're probably similar.
Yeah, if that. I listen to a lot of like podcasts or sports talk shows when I'm working out. So music only if I'm having like a heavy session, and I got to get into the zone and then go hang out with my cats after.
Listening to the cat soundtrack with your cats.
Okay, so we've been pretty close this whole time. Only a half point to a point away from each other. We're going into set and character design. This is kind of why and how they set up the scenes that we see in the film, why they chose the different outfits, how they came together, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of moving parts in terms of Glen Powell's character. So what did you give the set and character design of Hitman?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. largely because of character design over set design. I mean, set design's nice. I like Louisiana, New Orleans a lot. I don't feel like they fully took advantage of New Orleans. Like, there's not really a presence of like swampiness or nature, that nature side of New Orleans.
They went shooting over the swamp.
Yeah, but very briefly. That wasn't super swampy either. That was like some marsh. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an ecologist, but it was not very. It didn't.
What's the difference between a marsh and a swamp?
It didn't have like a bunch of trees. It was like wide open. Like, I feel like I think of swamp. I think of trees, mangroves, whatever. Like in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
You ever like driven through the Everglades? Like it's pretty open.
I don't drive through the Everglades. It's like 90% water.
Minus that one road.
But I feel like they didn't super take advantage of New Orleans. Like, even like the cityscape of New Orleans with like the classic brick paved streets. Like, what's that famous street in New Orleans? Help me out here, dude.
I have no idea.
You bastard.
Sorry, man.
God, I don't know. I forget it. Look, you have a laptop. Help me out.
Famous street in New Orleans.
If you search famous street in New Orleans, it'd be the first thing that comes up.
Come on, is it that important?
No, but no. I'm asking for help.
I got you, man.
You tell me no. You're just like, I just don't really care to. I'd just rather not.
Bourbon Street.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't take advantage of anything like that.
Like
but
5 minutes ago.
4 is still a super high score. I gave it a 4 because of the creativity of both of their outfits. I mean, Audrey Arjona has some great outfits in the movie too. In the end, when she shows back up in some overalls with like a hair change to show that time has passed, she's got the bangs. She looks really cool. But and then her stewardess outfit, like when she dresses up for Glen Powell. So they both get to play with cool outfits. But Glen Powell really like all kinds of different outfits for these different personas. So much fun. Like Ron's got kind of like a cool jacket on, or like Gary has the epic jorts and collared t-shirt combo. So I think it's a 4 just because like the creativity of how the outfits tie into the story. That's what always elevates something for me. Sound ties into story, it goes up. So the outfits tie into the story because they're part of him building these personas that are such a big part of the plot and who Gary is, and discovering Gary's character, discovering who he is. Like when he discovers his new self at the very end of the movie, he says he blended Ron with Gary to take the best parts of them to be this new person. So I feel like the outfits helped him discover those characters and are a big part of the plot.
I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Oh, why 3?
I like everything that you said. I think they did a great job, with the diversity of his characters. Like none of his characters like looked similar. They definitely dove into like each character, but I thought a lot of them looked kind of cheesy.
I like that they were cheesy because they're what people imagine him to be. Like the Russian one with the dark hair.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt a little cheesy.
The cigar.
But I liked all of the locations that they picked.
I just like cheesy stuff more than you.
Yes.
That's why I said you wouldn't like Quick and the Dead, because Sam Raimi makes cheesy movies.
Yeah. That's fair.
But what was I going to say? I like Madison's house a lot too. I feel like her house had a quaint, cute little feel.
Yeah.
Like inside and outside, I just feel like had a nice look.
Yeah. At first, I thought you were talking about like a place or a movie, Madison's house.
Oh.
It's like, I don't think I've seen that.
Madison's house. The name of our next short.
All right, our last category. You ready?
Yeah.
The last category is rewatchability. So this is out of 5 points as well. I don't think we said that for character design, but that was out of 5 points.
Yeah, otherwise me saying a 4 is like a ludicrous thing to say.
But this is also out of 5 points. And the way that we kind of pose this question is if you were doing nothing and someone asked you 5 different times, if you wanted to watch this movie, how many times would you say yes? Andrew, what do you think?
Another category I debated on, I ended up putting a 3.5.
Okay. You're just like just above me this whole time. I'm at a 3.
Because you're a movie hater.
I am a movie hater. I don't even like doing this podcast.
You're just hoping to be profitable one day, and then it's gonna come out like a tabloid. Arron hates movies.
They're gonna pull up this clip
from 2024.
I don't even like this podcast.
Yeah, it'd be 2035 before we're worthy of being a tabloid.
Yeah, 3.5 times. That's pretty high. I feel like for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this movie is just a fun ride. And I could kick back with popcorn and enjoy this movie. I feel like that's what rewatchability is all about.
This is an easy movie to watch again and again.
Yeah, I don't have to pay too much attention to it, and I'll come back for like the relationships. I would maybe have it even a little higher if I felt more invested in like the rest of it outside of the 2 stars. But 3.5 I think is really solid for it's. I'm coming back for Glen and Andrea.
What did this bring your total score to?
To 7.7, which what was IMDb? 7 flat?
7 flat, which was my score as well.
Oh, so you matched the public.
Yeah.
I think Richard Linklater and Glen Powell put together a good movie here because Glen Powell is credited as writing and producer. So they made something great. Netflix saw obviously greatness in the movie at the festival, and I'm glad they picked it up so more people could see it.
Yeah, it was a good, fun movie.
It's number one on Netflix right now.
Is it?
If you can believe it.
I don't know if that means anything. I feel like any movie that they put out, is like number 1.
Sometimes it's like so unbelievable. It's like Atlas. Atlas is number 1.
That too.
I've never heard a good word said about this. It's number 1.
Dude,
is everyone watching it ironically?
It's crazy that Sterling K. Brown's in that too.
Dude, Sterling K. Brown
is that guy a lot.
Dude,
He's that guy.
He's getting money. This guy. He's got to be up there for one of the hardest working people. I'm not saying hardest working people. Everyone's going to be like, Tom Cruise, Dwayne Johnson. Yeah. But he's working a lot. I mean, he was just in like a ton of movies in these last 2 years. He did voice work in Invincible. He was in last year. He was in American Fiction.
Which, I mean, he did voice work in Invincible like 4 years ago.
Probably. While they took forever to animate it.
Yeah.
Took forever to keyframe.
Just dragging Invincible across the screen.
They're just keyframing, and then they're like, "Oh my god, it's a Viltrumite fight," and then they were like, "That's where all their man hours went."
Crazy.
What's her name? Anita? What's her name? Anissa.
Yeah,
that's where all the man hours went. That fight was fantastic.
Dude, that was awesome. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about, a little bit of a source code segment. So we touched on this earlier, but the Gary Johnson, the real man, he was a veteran, I believe a Vietnam veteran, came back to the U.S. He worked as a philosophy teacher, and in his part-time, he helped the police with undercover operations. He didn't actually go into the undercover operations. They took a bunch of liberties with the story. No, I'm sorry. He didn't actually go into the extent that they showed in the movie. I believe he worked on some operations because there's actually an Easter egg in the movie of the case where Glen Powell's Gary Johnson goes to meet with a kid who's trying to hire a hitman to kill his mom and tries to pay him in video games. That is based on a real life event that happened to the actual Gary Johnson. A kid was trying to hire a hitman to kill his mom, which is like the most.
How did the kid get the number at that point?
I think they're kind of circulating it. Basically, the police are circulating it, right? Yeah. They're like, "Oh, like we'll give it to so and so, and if you hear somebody trying to, you give them this number." So it's probably like intentional to trap the kid, but what a teenager angsty thing to do, to try to hire a hitman to kill your mom. Like, how angsty, rebellious teenager do you have to be?
That's pretty wild.
How stupid would you feel too? I mean, I get it. Some people probably have terrible mothers. But if you're like the average person, how stupid do you have to feel like when you're an adult, like you're 18, like later, you're like, I tried to hire a hitman to kill my mom. Like, she was paying the bills and feeding me, and like, she probably like didn't let him do something he wanted to do, and he went to go hire a hitman. Like, she grounded me.
Dude, I feel like that's a lot of work to do to like get to that point, of like, you have to find the contact, you have to meet with the guy.
I feel like he half-assed it though. He didn't even try to get money together. He was gonna give him PlayStation games.
I mean, that's everything you got.
I'm really
he's what, 8 years old?
No, he was old. He was like a teenager, 13? Like 13.
Yeah. Even still.
This is how little Arron knows about kids. He saw that kid in the movie, said, what, he's like 5? He's basically newborn. Look at him.
Yeah. He just learned how to walk last year.
Arron sees the kid, he's like, I don't know, man. That kid could be 3, could be 17 for all I know.
They all look the same.
How old are they when they start walking? Like 14?
Could be. I don't even know what to say after that. Where do we go from here, guys?
Do you have any last thoughts on the movie? Wrap thoughts?
How's that pie?
All pie is good pie. Stuck the landing.
But before we actually close out, I want to say thank you everyone for watching. We post new full episodes every Monday and Thursday, but make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post out different content. We just had our 200th episode, which is mind-blowing, by the way. That's so crazy that we've hit 200 episodes in less than 2 years. So we've been pumping out these episodes, but every once in a while we put out extra stuff. So again, make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. We just filmed our second short film, Hit for Hit, last week. So that'll be out probably in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, maybe.
6 months. Aaron's got it. 6 months.
There's a lot of stuff. It's a lot longer than our first one. If you haven't seen our first one, which Andrew just got a tattoo for, that is linked in the description of this video. We also have a Discord, which I can't believe you kept that a secret. That's crazy.
It was hard.
Like, I don't know if I could trust you ever again. That's crazy.
I wanted to unveil it on the podcast. I had the idea walking out of the place, and I had the picture.
On
I
Monday,
sent it.
that was a few days ago.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I sent the picture to Sierra, and I was like, because like obviously I was excited to show you.
Yeah.
So because of what it is. And I was like, nope, we'll do it on the podcast. It'll be a good surprise.
I mean, that's basically a tattoo of me.
Honestly, this might as well be
pretty much.
This might as well have your initials in the bottom.
That's crazy, man. We also have a Discord, and in there you can join in the conversations that we have. We talk about different movies. We share our own projects that we're working on and stuff. We have some of the people who have been guests on the show are in the Discord, so we can chat with them as well. It is kind of pricey though, so it costs how much, Andrew?
It's a whopping for free.
So that link is in the description of this video too. If you want to join, that'd be awesome. Anything else to add, Andrew?
Yeah, and make sure you check us out on our platforms. We're pretty much everywhere on social media: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, all over the place. You can find us on Spotify. Make sure to like and subscribe on those channels, and to go to Spotify and follow on there as well. You don't want to miss any of our awesome content, so you also want to hit that notification bell. You can go... Perfect. Now you don't have to add it after the fact.
Boom.
So that was perfect. So you can follow us on all of those. And the biggest thing you can do to help grow the show, if you care about us a little bit and want to help us out, it would mean the world if you'd share us with friends and family. It's the best way to grow the show organically and for new people to find it. Share us with anybody, but specifically it'd be great to grow our community of movie lovers. And make sure you join that Discord that Aaron mentioned, because we can actually talk about movies, take suggestions.
We have a great time. I'm actually getting a few notifications over here for the Discord. I don't know if you've gotten them. So there's people talking in there right now.
Yeah, I've been talking with our good friend McNeil on there about his most recent episode of his podcast, because he covers them a year at a time, which is a cool concept.
Dan shared a clip that he was working on. He's a CGI artist that came on the show a few times. He was on the 200th episode. He shared a clip of a person that he animated that he was working on.
Our friend Scroll on there shares a lot of his artwork in the viewer art section.
The Discord's a lot of fun.
It's great. It's like our little community.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be little.
It doesn't. That's what she said. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and
that's a wrap.
Ending on it. That's what she said.
I was just going to say, what a way to...